CBS News Miami.
Good afternoon and thank you for joining us. I'm Chelsea Jones in for Naja Sherman. This is CBS News Miami's 4 p.m. Quickcast, and we do begin with some breaking news for you. Let's take some live pictures right now out of Canada where you can see a Delta Airlines flight from Minneapolis has crash landed. We are still working to learn a lot of information about this, but what we can tell you is that it appears that aircraft is upside down on the runway at Toronto Pearson Airport. We have just learned from the FAA that 80 people were on board and they all were evacuated. Some of them were taken to the hospital, and the FAA confirms there are injuries. The extent of those injuries at this point is not yet known, but as I said, airport officials confirmed that all of the passengers and crew have been accounted for at this point. But as you can see right there on your screen, there is a Delta Airlines jet that is upside down where it crash landed. It was coming from Minneapolis, headed towards Toronto. A lot of information left to gather, but we will bring you the latest beginning at 5 on CBS News Miami. We do have some details in the tragic murders of 3 people in Tamarac and the kidnapping of a 4-year-old girl. Now, a man is facing murder charges in the death of his estranged wife, father-in-law, and neighbor who tried to help. Police picked up Nathan Gingles after issuing an Amber Alert for the missing daughter. CBS News Miami's Morgan Reiner has more from Tamarac.
Neighbors told CBS News Miami that Mary Gingles and Nathan Gingles were going through a messy divorce. Court documents confirm she filed for a restraining order. Neighbors said the divorce was so messy, Mary's father was in town helping her. Sunday morning, BSO says Nathan Gingles showed up and shot Mary's father, David Posner. Multiple neighbors told CBS News Miami Mary then ran across the street to her neighbor's house for help. The neighbor let her in, but Nathan Gingles followed. Broward Sheriff's Office said this is where they found Mary shot dead, along with her neighbor Andrew Farron. Mary and Nathan have a 4-year-old daughter. BSO put out an Amber Alert for the girl, and hours later found Nathan at a Walmart in North Lauderdale with his daughter unharmed. The BSO dive team searched a nearby canal and located a firearm that is believed to be the weapon used in the crimes.
That was Morgan Reiner reporting. We'll hear more from neighbors rocked by this violent crime tonight at 5. A 13-year-old girl is now the 5th person to die in a horrific crash in Miami Gardens. Kelvin Graham says his daughter, Kamira Graham, died Saturday afternoon. Family tells us that 3 other kids and their grandmother died in the crash. The mother of the kids remained in the hospital, according to the father of 2 of the victims. It all happened along Northwest 37th Avenue at 171st Street. 25-year-old Antonio Wilcox is being charged with several counts of vehicular homicide. Investigators accuse him of driving nearly 100 miles per hour when this crash happened, and they say alcohol is also a factor. Now to winter weather causing travel trouble across the country. The South saw snow, winds, and flash flooding over the weekend. At least 10 people are dead, 9 of them coming from Kentucky, which is now under a disaster declaration. CBS News Miami's Karen Waugh is in Bowling Green with the latest.
Kentucky is bracing for more flooding after torrential rain created dangerous flash flooding over the weekend.
If I survive this, I'm going to find me a nice little home to move to. Getting too old for this.
Among those killed in Kentucky, a mother and her 7-year-old daughter.
We are still in the search and rescue mode. We're working as hard as we can to save as many lives as we can.
On top of the flooding, parts of the state got hit with snow, and more storms are expected this week. Here in Bowling Green, I'm standing in a flooded walkway, and several structures in this park are underwater, including that information sign right there that's half submerged. Typically in this area, we see about 4 inches of rain for the entire month of February, but it saw nearly double that, 8 inches in the past 2 days alone. Flooding was also a problem from West Virginia to Tennessee. In Hale County, Alabama, the National Weather Service confirmed a tornado touchdown, ripping homes apart.
It's a blessing that we survived.
Winter weather caused headaches in the Midwest as well. In Chicago, a woman was taken to the hospital after her car plunged into icy Lake Michigan. Snow also caused treacherous driving in the east, flipping this car in Massachusetts. But in Maine, they welcome the snow.
This is great. This is what living in Maine is about.
For winter lovers, fresh snow is something to celebrate. Karen Hua, CBS News, Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Always alerting, always tracking. This is Next Weather.
Taking a live look outside downtown, a much better picture than our folks there in Kentucky. And guess what? We're dealing with a little bit of drop in temperature. The humidity took a dip. Next Weather Chief Meteorologist Ivan Cabrera with us to talk about it. What's next?
We get some big changes on the way for this week, Chelsea. Unlike last month, which has been very, very quiet across South Florida, we're now in a pattern where we're not blocked here. So we got weather systems that are rolling through the eastern U.S. They're going to pay us a visit, and one just moved through a mini cold front, we'll call it here. It's dropping humidity, but not so much the temperatures. The bigger cold front is from a storm system that is yet to develop in the Gulf. That's the one that's going to bring us the coldest air since January. We're talking about widespread 50s by the end of the week, so get ready for that. And out ahead of that feature, we're going to have some showers that are going to be rolling through. You see the temperatures really falling back from yesterday's highs in the mid-80s. We had higher humidity. The front is now down to our south, but it's one of those deals where it really just hasn't punched far south enough. And so we're still going to hang out with the front tomorrow. It's going to meander, and that's going to bring us a chance of some showers. But it has dropped in humidity. It's done its job as far as that goes, just not as low as it is in central and north Florida. We're going to have some very cold temperatures overnight. We have to wait for the second front to come in, and that won't happen until Thursday. And then we'll get ready for some chilly temperatures by Friday morning. I'll show you those numbers. As far as the temperatures for the rest of the evening, looking good with highs in the 80s back tomorrow. We'll have 2 more days in the 80s, which has been the case the entire month of February, since February 1st. And for the first time, we'll likely stay south of 80 degrees by the time we get into a Thursday. And then look at this cool down there. So mid 70s for high temperatures. That will come with a big drop in humidity as well, even more than the one we're experiencing now, and also in the form of some very chilly temperatures. We got 59 degrees, so upper 50s for Miami. That'll mean widespread mid-50s across our inland areas. But again, that won't happen until Friday morning. Here's next with a rain tracker for the rest of tonight and heading into your Tuesday. Got that east wind, the frontal boundary nearby. Anytime you get that combination, you can have some shower activity. We need the rainfall. It's not going to be a lot, but we do have 20 to 30% coverage, I think, throughout the day. On a Tuesday, the latest runs here from Rain Tracker depicting a little bit higher coverage, so we'll watch that trend, see if that continues, and we'll keep you posted through the evening and for our 11 p.m. newscast. Over my shoulder is the more potent front. That's the one that's going to come in with some rainfall on Thursday, and then eventually get us with the cooler temperatures that are going to be on the way for the rest of the weekend into the next weekend. High temps for tomorrow, upper 70s to lower 80s. Again, just 2 more days of that, and then we should stay in the 70s on Thursday. Get that wind shift south to north, big wind direction shift and a big air mass change with temperatures in the 50s, and we'll hang out with that cooler air as we get ready for Challenging Cancer, our big ride and walk and run on a Saturday. That's going to be fantastic with temperatures in the 60s in the morning and highs in the 70s. A few showers by the tail end of the weekend.
Thank you. Demonstrators gathered in Miami and across the country today as part of nationwide Not My President protest happening on this President's Day holiday. Dozens gathered at the Torch of Friendship in downtown Miami. Crowds were marching against the Trump administration's policies. We're going to hear from those protesters tonight on CBS News Miami at 5. The Trump administration, though, is pushing forward to try and broker a peace deal in Ukraine. CBS News Miami's Natalie Brand has the latest as they try and save a ceasefire deal in Gaza.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio arrived in Saudi Arabia Monday ahead of scheduled talks tomorrow between Trump administration officials and a Russian delegation about ending the war in Ukraine. President Trump commented from Florida.
We're moving along. We're trying to get a peace with Russia, Ukraine, and we're working very hard on it. It's a war that should have never started.
The president has said he could meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin soon, following their phone call last week. But Secretary Rubio says there's still a lot of work to be done.
The next few weeks and days will determine whether it's serious or not. Ultimately, one phone call does not make peace. One phone call does not solve a war as complex as this one.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukraine was not invited to the talks, and any deal made without them will not be recognized.
Secretary of State Rubio's trip to the Middle East comes as he's also in the region to discuss the future of Gaza and the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he and the Trump administration are working in complete coordination.
We have a common strategy, and we can't always share the details of this strategy with the public, including when the gates of hell will be opened, as they surely will if all our hostages are not released.
Rubio said the U.S. is not in favor of waiting weeks and weeks for all hostages to come home. He also said Hamas cannot continue as a military or government force. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Details on a measles outbreak in several states when we come back. Stay with us. This afternoon, there are new concerns for the health of Pope Francis. The Vatican says his respiratory infection is complex. CBS News Miami's John Paul Gonzo has more as the Pope requires more time in the hospital.
Pope Francis is spending his fourth day in a hospital in Rome as he battles bronchitis with his illness now described as complex.
Certainly wish for him to get better very quickly. You know, he is our father and our shepherd, and so we want his continued health.
Tests have revealed the 88-year-old is sick with a polymicrobial infection of the respiratory tract, requiring a change in his treatment and a longer hospitalization. The Vatican says he is in good spirits and was able to eat breakfast and read newspapers Monday morning. The Pontiff's last public appearance was on Friday. Pope Francis, who had part of his lung removed as a teenager, suffered a bout of bronchitis in 2023. Back then, he was released from the hospital after 3 days.
No worries, but I hope that he's getting really good care and we'll be back soon.
The Pope's schedule has now been cleared, with his weekly audience on Wednesday cancelled. He remains in a stable condition. John Paul Gonzo, CBS News, London.
It's not clear how long Pope Francis will remain in the hospital. The Vatican says he will require an appropriate hospital stay. Well, the Centers for Disease Control is monitoring a measles outbreak. Officials have confirmed 48 cases of measles in Texas and 5 other states. On CBS Mornings, CBS News medical contributor Dr. Celine Gounder stressed how important it is to get vaccinated and noted symptoms people need to be on the lookout for after exposure. They include high fever, cough, runny nose, along with red and watery eyes. And about 2 to 3 days after symptoms start, little white spots can form inside the mouth, and patients may even develop a rash. That'll do it for CBS News Miami's Quickcast. I'm Chelsea Jones. Stay tuned for more on CBS Miami at 5.